Hey there, hopefully this is working. This is Bill Johnson, A.K.A. some guy with a guitar on YouTube. And been wanting to do something like this for a while, actually. Basically, I had put out like an 8-minute long video that talked a bit about, what did it say? Okay. This is all new to me, so I'm not, hopefully I don't jack this up too bad. But, basically, I had put out a short video with just some basic things about music, how it affected me, and how I believe it affects others and all that. But I really wanted to actually go through a timeline for myself, actually, and, like, how did I discover music? How it impacted my life, how it changed my life, how it helped me through different times, what my influences were in music. And this might be kind of a long video, but as I understand it, even if you don't catch the live feed, you can always go back and watch it again. So I'm just going to follow the timeline from my first ever memory of music and up until right this moment while I'm speaking to all you fine people here. And what really helped motivate me to do this is I've been watching a lot of Paul Murphy's videos. He is a outstanding musician of many years, many decades. And he's not just a great musician who's kind of like me that, can do a guitar, he can play just about anything there is. But he's also a writer and a poet. And he also, he's published several books. He just recently published a new book. And I wanted to give him a special shout out because he's given me shout outs before in his videos. And especially if you got little ones, he does have a lot of published books for children that he wrote for his two little ones and sometimes with them. And so check him out on Amazon. I believe his newest book, or two books, I believe, should be out now. And just, a great guy. There's some videos that are more like adult-themed music. You'll probably figure out which ones those are pretty quick. But by all means, please check him out. His name is Mr. Paul Murphy. And his videos, to me personally, are so great because not only does he discuss songwriting, he takes you through the steps, where the song came from, how was he inspired to write it, up into more music theory as far as, did he just leave it as it was? Did he do rewrites to it? All those things. And so as a fellow musician, to me, that's outstanding. And I've taken musical classes before, but he puts it on for free and, has no problem with folks sharing it just to get the awesome quality out. And to help other musicians. Maybe that's not his intention, but I assure you, if you are a fledgling musician and you take some time to watch his videos, you're going to learn something. Probably a lot. I also wanted to shout out my old bandmates. Technically, there was two bands, and as we get into that part in the timeline, I'll be discussing that more. But Chivalry is the main band, and I don't want to repeat myself on it, so I'm going to save all the details till later. But Chivalry, we had Patrick Burnett, Ricky Lewis, or Rick Lewis as we used to call him, and Jeremy German, otherwise known as Jay, otherwise known as Ball and Chain. He'll get that joke. So will the fellas. But let's see. The second band, we lost Pat. We'll get into that a little bit, but I mean that's his business, so I'm not gonna give away anybody's secrets or anything like that. You're not gonna hear that here. But we called ourselves No Vacancy, and yes, that was long before Jack Black did School of Rock, and the kind of evil band ended up being called No Vacancy. And there's a funny story how we got that name as well, and I will share that. So shout out to you guys. Nothing would have been possible without you guys. And lastly, but not leastly, did I say that right? My dad has always been my biggest supporter for music. He was there from the very beginning all the way till today. Helped me. That's how I first got my studio blocks of time when I was trying a solo career, and he got that for me. Helped me go out and try to pick a decent studio to record in. Bought me musical instruments, bought me my magic keyboard. I made a post about that. It is true that did help me score with the ladies, but pretty much music in general, for some reason. I guess it probably didn't help. I looked a little bit more nice back in the day, but so thank you, Dad. Thank you very much for believing in me, and I would have just totally given up. I don't know how many years ago. If you wouldn't have kept pushing me along there, so I appreciate that. So let's get into one more thing. Might hear a cuss word here and there. That is just part of who I am. I don't cuss as much as I used to, but sometimes it just comes out still. Hard to teach an old dog new tricks. You can, but it's a little difficult. So let's begin. The first memory I have dealing with music, I'm going to try to look into the camera, is actually the Jack in the Box. Here's a picture. Let's see if that was me. And right about that age, I'm showing my messy desk off in the reflection there. Let's see if I can. Right about this age is when I actually first discovered music. And there was just something, kids love playing with Jack in the Boxes. And so for anyone who may not know what a Jack in the Box is, I believe there's probably some that don't. It's this metal box, probably plastic nowadays, but this was like old school, way back. And so there's this crank on the side of it, and you crank it, and while you're cranking it, it plays this little tiny metallic sounding tune. Very simple, very basic. Dun, 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 dun. And then all of a sudden you get to a point, boom! And then the top opens up and the Jack in the Box comes out, and you're like, ah. And so you close the top and then you start cranking it again. And there are things you don't realize when you witness an event when you're a child, consciously, but in your subconscious mind, at least in mine, I started to connect the whole hey, this music, as simple as it was, made this thing happen. And I know it sounds kind of childish and very basic, but it embedded in the back of my mind anyway. The fact that music can uh, make something happen, I guess, is the easiest way to say it. And then during this time, actually, we were living up. Well, I was living up at the Rocks. We called it the Rocks. It was this little farm. We had chickens and pigs, and all that, and canned vegetables, and it was really cool. Growing up there, tire swing, it's, it was pretty awesome. And the other thing was my grandma loved to sing. The trick with that there, though, was 99% of what she liked to sing was all like, Christian music. And so I got like a whole bunch of that influence, but just hearing her voice, she didn't play any instruments, but her voice was, magnificent. And so it kind of showed me like tonal expressions, how the tones can mix with the melody, mix with the lyrics, and that kind of thing. And then the next thing I remember is I can't remember if it was my grandmother's or my great grandmother's, but one of them had this beautiful musical jewelry box. And probably more people are familiar with this type of thing, but beautiful box, and you keep your jewelry in it and all. But kind of the most notable thing about a jewelry box, other than the aesthetic part of it, is you crank. Here we go again with the crank, right? And you crank it up, and then you open the lid. And when you open the lid, there's this little tube with some metal dots sticking out of it, and then there's some very thin metal plates that, as this tube goes around, clicks on these upright little metal dots, and so you get this metallic sound, kind of like what you heard in the Jack in the Box, but like on a whole new level, And I loved hearing that. As simple as it was, some of them get very extravagant, depending on how much money you pay on a jewelry box. But on top of the cool little tune, as soon as that music started playing, the little ballerina started moving around. And so I would sit there and I'm like, wow, the music is cool, and there's this, I didn't call them chicks up back in the day, but, there's this chick in this dress dancing around, and, again, it solidified to me that music can make things happen. Music has an effect on, it was, not a real person, but, in your mind, especially as a kid, that's what you're imagining. And also at the Rocks, because I lived at the Rocks a couple different times. We moved around a lot. I was an Army brat. My dad did 20 years in the service. So some of the times I lived with him, some of the times I lived with my grandparents. And but what we also had, my dad had this beautiful full piano. And it was slightly out of tune for the longest time, but it costs a lot of money to tune pianos. And, well, at least it did. I couldn't tell you today. I would assume it still does. But, I'm sitting there, and now it's like, wow, I saw the jewelry box, but now I got all these keys I can press and all. And my dad showed me a simple little tiny tune, and just the fact that I, as a young kid, could hit the right keys and I could make the sound the way he did it fascinated me. And I totally fell in love with it. And I forgot to mention too, my very first instrument actually was the drums. My dad had bought me up at the Rocks when I was like maybe 5 years old. Bought me a drum kit. It was an adult drum kit, and I'm not even sure if they had kid kits back then. But it was a basic kit. It wasn't like a Stuart Copeland, spinning around, hitting all this kind of stuff. But I was so little, and back then, especially like the kick pedals, they weren't quite as smooth as they are now. And so, as a kid, I had to use both feet when I wanted to kick the bass drum pedal. So I'm like, and would make little tiny tunes. Loud tunes, but thank goodness we were, on a farm, and so no one was ever going to hear me butchering whatever I was trying to play. But that was technically my first instrument, and he also got me a harmonica right around the same time, and so I did start playing that. But again, as a kid that young, you're just kind of fooling around, not really knowing what the heck you're doing, but you're having fun. That's the one thing. Even if I was playing, even today, when I'm doing well enough health-wise to where I can at least play something for maybe 5-10 minutes, it's never going to be as good as I used to be able to do it, but when I can still do it, I try to. And even if I'm listening to it, I'm like, man, this sucks. It's still fun. It's still fun. So, and what was it? Someone said, it's not a waste of time if you're doing something that you really enjoy doing. Even though other folks might think, oh man, that's just a waste of time. But I learned that it's not. It's not a waste of time. It's your life. And if you're smiling and enjoying it, then what's anyone else have to say about it, That's my mentality now. I wasn't always like that. I had a lot of growing to do. But, so let's move from the Rocks. And I'm trying to keep it to like the points, the main points, because I'll get lost in telling like a million different stories that might not really, mean that much to anyone. But we moved, but the next biggest phase of my life was when I got to trying to remember, MTV came out. We didn't have MTV because, of course, you had to subscribe to it. But it came out, and I'm not going to get into details, but my dad was dating someone, and when we would go over her house, she had it. And so, it was like, oh man, I just love sitting there watching, these videos. So now I get to listen to the song, and I get to watch a movie about the song. Totally awesome, man. Totally awesome. It's too bad they wrecked MTV nowadays, but I thought that was the coolest thing. And a little secret of mine, whenever I write a song for like, I don't know how many years now, while I'm doing it, And once I get like at least halfway done or mostly done, I'm seeing the music video for it play out. It's like it all happens right at the same time. And I'm sure other musicians do that as well. But, I mean, that's like a fixture. I can't remember the last song that I've written to where I didn't write it that way. So I'm coming packaged with the song and, you know, the music video. I can see it all playing out in my mind as well. Let's see. So, yeah, music video, MTV came out, and that was, to me, such a huge deal. And VH1 also. And because now you could really focus on the artist, see the artist, not just listen to them on the radio, because, you know, there was a time, people don't really get it nowadays, but there was a time when if you wanted to actually see your art, you know, your favorite artist, you had to go to the concert, which I've been lucky enough to go to a few concerts, and I will get into that when the time comes for that. And but yeah, it really opened up another whole aspect of how I create music, at least as far as how I envision it in my mind. And so right around that time, my dad actually bought me my first acoustic guitar, well, my first guitar. And so what does he do? He buys me this 12-string beautiful acoustic guitar. It's got like a mother of pearl dove on the guard. What do we call it? The pick guard, I guess, strum guard, whatever you want to call it. I'm not really a technical musician when it comes to that stuff. I just like to play and write stuff. Let's see. Yeah, so I actually did take, I mean, what a learning curve, though. Your first guitar, and it's this 12-string. And my influences at the time, because I had listened to, when I was growing up in Baltimore, yeah, because I totally skipped that. I know I'm jumping all over the place. But when I was in like first through third grade, something like that, it was like 3 years, maybe 2.5. I lived in Baltimore City with my grandparents. And my uncle listened, he, you know, had his LP collection, 45 collection, 8 tracks were still a thing then. They were fading out though, obviously. But I had my Fleetwood Mac, you know, 8-track, one of my favorite 8-track tapes to listen to. I listened to everything from Disco Mickey Mouse and Macho Macho Duck. Goodness sake. Remember that. So I went from that to listening to, you know, Alice Cooper, because my uncle had, you know, his album, Gordon Lightfoot, Carly Simon. One of my favorite things to listen to, You're So Vain. We had a 45 of that, and I wore that little 45. 45, for those who don't know, and from watching YouTube channels, there are obviously some folks that don't know even what a record player is now. But a 40, you know, you got your big LP, and then the 45 is a smaller version of a record. And that's usually to just market a specific song, and you always have the B-side, which is a song that's supposed to be somewhat good, but not all that great. Okay, so anyway, tons of different influences a lot of the old school, like 70s stuff back then. Those were days like watching WKRP in Cincinnati, which really made me want to be a DJ, but I didn't have the voice and the personality and the skill set to be a DJ. So I decided to be a musician. That's funny. But so what else? Yeah, another little story in Baltimore. I had this old little transistor AM radio. It didn't even have FM. And it ran on batteries, of course, unfortunately. But I would go to bed and cover up when I was supposed to go to bed, and I would be listening to this little radio playing, and hearing Christopher Cross and John Denver. John Denver is one of my favorite musicians of all time. It really inspired me on the acoustic guitar. Annie's song is one of my favorite all-time songs, and Country Roads as well. But he's got a lot of hits. But anyway, I'm trying not to get too far off track here. But to go along with that, there was a they taught music class then, and there was a song we used to sing in music class, and I just fell in love with it. And I always was like, can we please sing this song? Can we please sing this song? And I'm not even sure what the title of it is. I tried to find it online, but it goes something like, and remember, my voice is severely affected by my health issues here. So it's the lyrics and the melody that's the most important. Orion is rising, you can see his stars a-blazing in the middle of a clear-eyed country sky. And it's never too surprising that the sky is so amazing, way out here where nothing hides it from my eyes. And sleeping outside in a bag as a kid seems like the best thing that I ever did. And chasing the shadows and the tracks in the snow, don't you know? Anyway, that's the first verse and the chorus. But I'll never forget that song. And this was like in elementary school, and I'll still never forget it. And because it really jived with like my favorite kind of music. Was kind of, it had like a darker theme to it, but yet the melody and all, might start off dark, but then it kind of lifts up. So anyway, it's just another quick story of how music, affected me and stuck with me and affected my writing over the years. So moving from, let's hit, middle school was around the time I was learning how to play the guitar on that 12 string. And I took some classes trying to learn how to read sheet music. And for the life of me, I just could not get it. I couldn't get it. And I just wanted to explore the fretboard and find out for myself. Another interesting thing about me is I always prefer finger plucking. I really don't like using a pick that much. But when I started playing bass years later, I was kind of forced to on a lot of things, and even like on the electric, when I started playing that, I was forced to use that as well. But even the acoustic, there's because you can strum with your nails, but it's not going to be as, I guess, a crisper sound like you would get if you were strumming with a pick. Oh, that was my stomach. And I just ate. Lost my train of thought there. Yeah, talking about picks. But anyway, let's continue. You'll find that I often go off on quick little rants, but I try to reel myself back in once I realize it anyway. So let's just go into let's go into high school real fast. In high school is where I developed a love for drama and theater. And I actually found this, and I'm really excited. You know, I'm the one guy in the room who's excited about finding this. But, and I mentioned it on some other post. Oh, this monstrosity behind me is, I mean, you can't see the front of it, but this is actually the karaoke machine that we use to record a lot of our practice session stuff. So I still have it, but let me. And I spent a good part of today looking for music-related picks, and there's a few things in here that aren't music-related. I'll just flash them up there for a minute when the time comes. Oh, but here's a pic of me. Oh man, probably can't see it. On stage, we were doing, I was one of the three wise men at Sacred Heart of Mary School. I was the one in the light blue. My grandma actually, light blue and white, with a pretty killer looking crown, actually. It was looking pretty dope. And, so, yeah, no stranger of being in front of people. Let me see. Maybe I won't show some of these pictures after all. But I actually found the program because we did it at the Roxy Theater. And our production was Peter Pan. And so it was a pretty much like a dinner theater. And I was Keku the Pirate. I'm going to show you the newspaper clipping in a second because it's freaking hilarious. But yeah, Peter Pan was the December play, which I got the role of Keiko, and it's a musical. And also went out for a role in the Merry Wives of Windsor, which I scored the role as one of the husbands, but I got like the worst case of chicken pox. And you know, when you're my age at that point, it's like it's almost like being an adult and getting chicken pox. You're like, oh man, come on. So I wasn't able to do that play, and man, I was so disappointed in that. But our drama, how I got hooked up in that is our drama teacher was a local stage actress of some renown, and I went and saw her up there, and it was just wonderful. But there's nothing like being part of a live stage production. I actually recently watched a movie on Netflix. It's called One Hit Wonders, I believe, and it's all about the backstage workings of a Broadway production. Of course, the production I was in was not Broadway. It's so you had to pitch in on a lot of different things. But where's my credit at? Yes, company in order of appearance. Right now, I'm probably just doing this more for myself than anyone else, but there we go. See if I can probably won't even be able to see this. I didn't really think this part through that well, unfortunately, but I'm listed there as Keko William Johnson. And whenever there's a play, a musical, even if it's not on Broadway, there's always going to be critics that come to write pieces on it. And that I don't have. But I did remember reading them. But here's the newspaper clipping. Huh? I put it, that's my dad talking to me, upside down. I'm lucky I know what right side up is right now, upside down. You mean the whole video is upside down? Dad! I look right side up to me. How's it upside down? Should be right side up. Oh, maybe saying it's backwards. Yeah. Well, you guys can read backwards, right? No big deal. So here's the newspaper clipping. And of course I'm the schmuck who's looking directly at the camera with that shit-eating grin. The next day, after this came out, I had girls in my English class. Well, there was a couple of others. I was doing all right back then, actually. But other girls on top of that, because my girlfriend at the time, Judy, who used to go to drama competitions along with me, state competitions and all, she actually won her category and went to the nationals. So, but she was a redhead, so I'm not really surprised at that. Freaking redheads. Let's see. So there's that. But so high school was an interesting time. Also, this right here is a reel-to-reel my dad had, and this it was a little older at the time, but we actually used to lug that thing around. Took it to a couple of our places we played. Here was the problem: the stereo knob for the mic input was broken, and it was stuck on mono, so we couldn't record anything in stereo. Oh man, can't make that crap up. What else is going on in high school? Oh yeah, here's my iconic, not really iconic, but this is pretty much my icon for my YouTube channel. A close-up of that. Me trying to look all suave and stuff back in the day. Oh, somebody asked me once, because I told them, I used to bowl. Maybe it was Tracy. Can't remember. But we were talking about the difference between duck pins. And I was trying to explain it. Here's the duck pins. The duck pins are little, much smaller balls. There's no holes in the balls. You just grab it and you throw it down in there. And it's, the adults love to come in there and chuck those balls down the alley. But actually won a tournament on that. Hey Paris, how you doing? Glad to see you. Paris is awesome. She's a fellow music lover. Loves the 80s too. Knows a lot of people in the music business actually. And in good with an awesome church called the Worship Center, right, Paris? Isn't that it? Awesome music, awesome performances. I highly recommend you check it out. I've already posted it up several times, the link to get there on my Facebook. Let's see. I think that's it for there. But yeah, so, but also in high school, VH1 had also come out. So now there's MTV and VH1. You got to remember, this isn't like the Housewives of whatever or whatever reality crap show they got on. Sorry, it's just my personal opinion. But they used to actually play all these music videos. What was the first music video that MTV played? Throw a little quiz at you. Dun, 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 dun. What did you say was upside down, Dad?
The picture you showed, the music score. I mean, your.
Oh, the for the Roxy Theater, yeah. Well, I think on the screen it shows up backwards. I mean, this is the first time I'm doing this, so I have no idea what I'm doing. They can read backwards. It's cool. Dun, 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 dun. So, the answer to that question is the very first video that was ever showed on MTV was from the Buggles. Does that help? Everyone's like, who the hell are the Buggles? I don't know, only the first artist that ever appeared on MTV. Video Killed the Radio Star. That was the song. Feel like watching VH1, what did they call it? Pop media or pop music, where they would throw up, different facts while the video was playing. Love that. There's an awesome movie. It's called Music and Lyrics. Drew Barrymore, who I absolutely adore, and Hugh Grant is in it. And there's a whole pop-up video vibe for one of the sections of that song. Oh, and to add a little bit Baltimore street cred when I was there, this is my signed Captain Chesapeake autograph. Yeah. He was a nice guy, too. I know you do, Paris. Paris has got it, man. Wonderful lady. Let's see. So high school, what else? I was in drama for 3 years. Already discussed the plays, but it really it only fueled my love of music, my love of performing in front of people. Just an all around awesome thing. There's so many funny things that happen. I'm probably do another video, as long as this thing doesn't turn out too bad here, of just my time in music theater and drama, because there's like 1,000,001, funny stories to go along there. But I thought it was awesome. I thought it was just great. Was there anything else in high school? I think that's all the main points in high school. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move on. There was one picture I wanted to show real fast. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bike. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bike. If you don't know that that's a Queen song, I don't know how I can help you. The only thing I didn't like about that song is Freddie dissed on Star Wars. He's like, I don't like Star Wars. I want to go ride my bike. It was like, I'm all about riding bikes, but man, don't be dissing my Star Wars. One of my redheaded girlfriends in high school, just to show it for no apparent reason, there's Judy. And this is, probably can't even see it because of the reflection, but I'll work on all that stuff. But that's at the JRTC ball, I want to say in my senior year. Check out all the medals and stuff. I was in after school Rangers, after school rifle team. Had it going on. All right, so let's move on from high school. The only thing left to say about the whole high school era is just the whole MTV thing. That's where I fell in love with Rio from Duran Duran. And Hungry Like the Wolf became like one of my favorite songs as well. It was just something magical about the 80s. And of course Fleetwood Mac, was still around. Even the Police, they didn't break up to 83. And they were like, okay, we've traveled the entire world. One of the first bands, don't get me started on the Police. The Police is my all-time favorite band of all time. And everyone's like, well, they had that one song, Every Breath You Take, which happens to be my favorite song of all time. Little did I know it was actually a song about stalking folks, but I was more into Andy Summers' guitar playing. And I believe their motto was at the time, less is more. So they didn't really want to throw like just a ton of stuff into the mix of the song, because it kind of ruined the sound. White Wedding, yes. Oh my goodness, Billy Idol. Oh, and Billy Idol's actually in that movie. I don't know if you were here yet, but I recommended a movie. It's called Music and Lyrics with Drew Barrymore and Hugh Grant. Not to give too much away, but Billy Idol's in that movie. No, it's The Wedding Singer. I'm sorry, The Wedding Singer. I'm getting all my musical movies mixed up. My brain's starting to turn to mush here slowly. Not much I can do about that. I did take my meds before I jumped on here, so I wouldn't be too gone. But, yeah, White Wedding. Eyes Without a Face was actually... I love White Wedding, which is in The Wedding Singer. But, and so is Billy Idol. But Eyes Without a Face I really love too. And Dancing with Myself. See, now you got me on the whole Billy Idol thing. Dancing with Myself is super awesome. It's just, and people believe it or not, gave him crap because you got to remember he was a little bit more hardcore, and then he got commercialized. And the songs, the first thing you do when you walk into the production studio, they're like, well, we're going to, don't worry about it. We're going to take care of the sound. Don't worry about it. And it's like, well, this doesn't sound like, I usually do. But it worked. He became uber popular. Yeah, Moni Moni. Tons of awesome songs. Scandal, I really like Scandal. Wasn't it till Tuesday? Hush, hush, keep it down now. Voices carry. 99 Love Balloons. You can see how much of an 80s fan I am. My favorite era is 70s and 80s. And I don't know if it's because I've listened throughout my life more to 70s and 80s music than anything else. It's not taking anything away from any other music. I always wanted to be eclectic. That's why I've written everything from country to rock, punk, probably too much pop, folk, a lot of sad songs, mainly. It's kind of my thing. Some of the guys just give me crap about that. It's like, can't you write a happy song? I did find a lot of the original copyrighted pages of some of the songs that we wrote as a band, that I wrote, that Pat wrote as well. I'll probably wait because I don't even know how long I've been on here. It's not even telling me. But, let's see. Okay, so, but I mean, I could go on about the 80s forever. But anyway, I ran so far away. Okay. I gotta stop. A.K.A. One of my favorite all-time songs was Take On Me. And the funny thing about that is when I had bought the cassette for that, but I lost the outer cassette and the inner cover, so I didn't have the lyrics, because back in the day, they used to share the lyrics. Actually, I do have... now everything drops to the ground. Where is it? Forget it. I'll show it next time. But it's the inner cover for the LP of Synchronicity from the Police. My all-time favorite band. Totally kick-ass. 3 favorite bands: The Police, Fleetwood Mac, and ABBA. And so, of course, ABBA's been around a little bit longer than all of them. And, but, I mean, that's not taken away from any other band. I mean, that's, like I said, I'm eclectic. Elton John, Billy Joel, I loved on the piano. Of course, they didn't just do piano, they did other things as well, especially Billy Joel. Uptown Girl. Okay, this is going to turn into me just like doing clips of music all night. Okay, so moving forward, let's get past high school. So I graduated high school, started going to community college, and absolutely hated it. While I was going to community college, because I was majoring in business administration, which I really had absolutely zero interest in, but it's one of those things that, well, if you do that and you get your degree, then you can like go manage a store or something, and that sounds very logical. But So I was going to community college, and while I was doing that, I started working at a movie theater, and this is kind of telling the backstory of how the bands got together. Like Jake Blues said, "We're putting the band back together." If y'all watched the Blues Brothers, one of my favorite all-time movies dealing with music. But let's see what else. Yeah, so going to community college and doing horribly. Working at the movie theater, and through the movie theater, it was a small chain of movie theaters. And I happened to become like best buddies with the owner's son, Bob, who, let's see, I missed that. Oh yeah, Prince. Yeah, you gotta keep me straight. You gotta keep me straight, Paris. Prince was so cool. He even made that Batman, the Bat dance look cool. That's how cool Prince was. I mean, how many people can pull that off and still look badass? But, yeah, Prince would make you pancakes after he beats you in basketball. Or so the Murphys say. If you watch Dave Chappelle, Charlie Murphy. True Hollywood stories. Okay. Stay on target here. Stay on target. I'm talking about everything now. But it is music related. Don't make me get on Rick James. I'm Rick James, bitch. Enjoy yourself. Let's see. Where was I at? I got flashes of redheads in my mind there for some reason. Come back to reality. Back to reality here. Yeah, okay, so community college, yeah. But working for a small chain of movie theaters. My boss was actually a guitar player. And he had himself a acoustic and really old but kick-ass amp. Actually let me borrow that amp for quite a while too. But we actually got together, him and I, and just fooled around a bit together on the guitar. And then through Butch, I heard that there was someone who worked at another movie theater of the small chain, a fellow called Patrick Burnett. And so we met up, and because one thing that you did was a movie would run so long at your theater, and so then you have to break it back down, put it back in the cans, and then move it to the next theater that was in line to get it. And so just by even doing that, as an assistant manager or an employee, I can't remember if I was assistant manager at that point or not, but that's here or there. The cool thing about working at movie theaters is midnight showings. The thing that sucks about working at a smaller movie theater is the projectionist is the manager. So you're always seeing the beginning and the end of every single movie. So that's why when you would set up the movie, if it premiered on Friday, you would set it up on Thursday night, and you'd have a late showing for you and your buddies on Thursday night. Shh, don't tell anybody that. But man, getting off target again. Yeah, so I met Pat, and he was already like levels above me, both in playing guitar and writing lyrics, writing songs. This guy's lyrics, it's just blew me away. I was much more on a simpler, less complex level of lyric ability than he was. But we kicked it off and got together countless of times. We actually started working out at the Bel Air gym together, lifting weights in the morning. And here's another thing about music. People that work out, they want to hear a certain type of music. And so we'd walk into this place and they'd be playing, you're sitting there trying to bench, like your max weight, and you're hearing over the speaker, how do you talk to an angel? Something the way you are. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, how is this pumping me up to lift this weight? It was ridiculous. It really was. Of course, nowadays you got your, little iPad, it's like that big that you can put like thousands of songs on. But it wasn't that way back then. And so, yeah, we listened to all this crap. I think it was because in the mornings when we went, there were all the housewives that would go work out in the morning. So not actually a bad deal when you think about it. I could do with the music. In the military, we called it, what did we call it? Area beautification. I'm getting bad now. That's just part of me too. You have to deal with it. It used to be a good time. Now, everyone's like, oh, I can't believe you said something. It didn't even mean anything, But that's for another whole video. Anyway, getting back to music, I only pointed that out just because it was another instance of how music, affects your life, really. But so Pat and I kept getting together over at his place and started getting together at the theaters, and we figured out that if you go to the bottom of the theater, well, the front of the theater, the acoustics there, of course, are, very good. So we started recording stuff there, and I happen to be that guy that's like, I want to record everything. Oh, we're doing a documentary. We didn't even have a video camera, which, man, I kicked myself for not having. But we had countless get-togethers and learning each other's songs, and then we started writing songs together. And that's when it really started becoming more serious. There are folks that have a talent, and it could be painting, it could be sculpting, it could be writing, whatever, playing the guitar, whatever it might be. Just some type of talent, and you're sitting there watching them, and you're like, man, I wish I had that talent, because I really want to do this. And the person you're watching is like, it's all right, the girls like it, so and I'm like, dude, we could do something with this. And it's amazing how many folks I met like that. There's so many talented people. And back then, there wasn't all this social media. So there's always been so many talented people out there. But nobody ever heard them, unless they were in a band or unless they did like open mic night. No one even got a chance to see them ever, except for maybe their family. Singing Christmas songs during Christmas, or playing the piano during Christmas, and that was it. That was their gig, when they could have, done so much more with that. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out, that all of a sudden we didn't just magically have all these great artists. They've been there. It's just now anybody and their pet hamster can pick up a cell phone and make a video of themselves singing a song or playing a song, which is good. I'm not going to get into the whole social media thing because it's definitely a big negative as well about that, but we'll leave that for another video. I'm losing my thought here. So anyway, me and Pat working on stuff. We actually did a live show mainly for family and friends, and I recorded it. That went off, pretty well. And we came up with the name Chivalry, because the simple fact of the matter is most of our songs were like, kind of cheesy love songs for chicks. Nothing wrong with that, I guess. Seemed to work pretty well plenty of the time. No complaints, really. Except for the occasional slightly unstable lady. We did have a couple of those. So Pat and I did start getting more serious about it. And so we're like, well, we need a drummer. And it just so happens that I had been spending time with a female manager. I know that there's always a woman involved somehow, somewhere. There's always a woman. But we were hanging out, and I was telling her about that stuff. She ends up telling my boss about a fella named Ricky Lewis, who was a drummer. And so we arrange a meeting to like the initial, hey, let's sit down and talk about this stuff, and just to see if we even vibe that way, because you gotta somewhat vibe with people for you to expect the band to make it past the day. And so we met up with him, and he had played, and Rick, I can't remember what the band you played in was before, but it was like a heavier punk band. And the funny thing was, so we go over to Rick's house, and because he had his basement soundproofed, he had a setup going, and he was a pretty young guy back then, actually. He was good for how old he was. And so we started playing, and of course, remember now, we don't even have, I don't even think we had electric guitars yet at that time. It was so two guys with acoustic guitars trying to sing love songs, and Rick's like, it's like, dude, we ain't playing Metallica. It was hilarious, and he's like, what? And so we did it again, and it's like, all right, we gotta take one of your bass drums away, dude, because you just can't quit with that. Oh, dude, okay. Just checking the comments. So we did actually take one of Rick's bass drums away. Sorry, Rick. So then we were three. At the time, Pat and I were both still playing guitar. We both got electric guitars. And because we wanted to expand the type of music we were playing, which if you want to get to the point you're playing gigs, you can't just play you can't play Ya Yang Ding Dong the whole night long. You gotta be able to play other stuff. Those who've watched Fire Saga, the Eurovision story, or Eurovision the Fire Saga story, you'll get that one. Awesome movie, Will Ferrell, and includes a Wendy Wiesner lookalike, so you can't go wrong there. That's for damn sure. And let's see. So we started practicing, and things were hitting off pretty darn good. And how we usually did it was, I would play usually the rhythm on the electric, and Pat would get more into like the solo stuff, and just really seemed to start to come together. I mean, and it takes a little time. I mean, and we were still in a major stage of just trying to create ourselves, our sound, and create songs, our songs, original songs, and then things just started. People started hearing that we were practicing, and people started coming and going, and that's when it's like, man, we could probably do this. And I'm thinking, I go back to the Police, and I'm like, 3-piece band. Pat is awesome on the guitar, and he's, got a better voice than I do. And plus the girls, were eating out of his hand. So perfect front man. I was at my best on the electric, just writing songs mainly with rhythm, and then Pat would fill in with the actual like melody of notes or whatever, or some solos here and there and stuff like that. And Rick just blended right in, and it was amazing how it really started coming together. And so we had other people coming. We had other drummers come play with us. We had people always just hanging around wanting to hear us. And the problem we had is we were playing on crap equipment. I actually got a picture on my Facebook page of the basement that we played in, and you could tell, we didn't really have the best equipment going on, and we didn't have a 4-track even. There was no mixing capability whatsoever. What we had was this karaoke machine back here. Which, I mean, to its credit, I can't believe it sounded as good as it did. But the problem with, and this is a cassette tape thing, so you record something, like let's say you record the drums and a bass line. Because I started playing a bass, because I just loved that whole 3-piece thing, going back to the Police, like I said. And so I became the main bass player, still writing songs mainly on the guitar and occasionally on the keyboard. But yeah, every once in a while I'm just going to lose my thought. Keyboard. Yeah, but since we didn't even have a 4-track, I mean, there wasn't really a lot of money being thrown into this. That was part of our problem, actually. I mean, Rick was playing with a cracked hi-hat. Like, I don't know how long, Rick, you were playing with a cracked hi-hat, but we eventually did. It was like a big day for the band. We went and Rick got a brand new hi-hat, and it was like, we won some kind of victory or something because Rick went and got a new hi-hat. It was hilarious. But when you're there in the moment, it's just so cool, and it's like, oh man, I wonder what it's gonna sound like, and blah blah blah. And we got Rick a cowbell as well, because there's never enough cowbell, and he actually played that on a couple tracks. I can't think of them off the top of my head right now, but we played a couple tracks with that cowbell. But trying to think. I just want to explain real quick before again I get off target here. With the karaoke machine, and that's all you have. You record. You want to try to record everything at once, because what happens is, let's say we record the drums and the guitar, and hey Aunt Ruby, I think we lost you, but thanks for checking in. So you would record it on the cassette tape, and then you would have to then record like the bass line and the vocals. You record as much as possible, because every time you overdubbed it, you lose sound quality, and it gets grainy and stuff like that. And so that's why so many of my solo things, and unless it was the stuff I did in an actual studio, it's really distorted. And the worst problem is I hear it perfectly in my head. So when I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh man, this sounds good. But when someone else listens to it, it could be like, oh man, they're just not really hearing the same thing that I'm hearing. And I think, a lot of musicians have that problem, even if they have really good recording equipment. It's just part of the game. But it's really bad when you're trying to record stuff on something like this. But you know what? I would rather have the recordings than not have them. So that's how I look at it. And I keep looking at the screen when I should be looking at the camera. Sorry, folks. There's nothing exciting going on down here. It's just my keyboard. Let's see. So we practiced a lot and all that. People started coming around. And then I think Rick moved. And I think either Rick moved or Pat was like, hey, we can come play at my house and play in the basement. I can't remember exactly how that worked out, but we ended up moving everything to Pat's basement and playing in there. And once we did that, then we even had, because we had this whole other life. We were, most of us were, gamers, like old school, Wizards of the Coast, stuff like that, Warhammer, D&D, and all that. I mean, I've been a D&D dungeon master since I was in high school. And that would be a geek, not a nerd, just so you understand. The difference between a geek and a nerd. A nerd is like just a smart guy that doesn't care about anything else other than getting the good grades. A geek is often also intelligent, but the main difference is they focus mainly on geekdom, which is, Star Trek, Star Wars, probably certain shows you never even heard of, Doctor Who, but a lot of these shows became mainstream. But back in the day, unless you were watching UHF, BBC or something like that, you never even heard of it. Oh, there's one thing I wanted to go back to real fast. Another huge credit to someone who influenced me musically so much. and that's Mr. Fred Rogers. A lot of people don't know how incredible of a musician that man was. He did hundreds of shows, and he wrote the music, and it wasn't always just the same tune. I mean, he wrote so many different songs, and he loved playing the piano, but one thing about him was, and it helped inspire me to be the same exact way, is I don't like just one type of music and tell everything else to, F off. That's not how I am. If it's a good piece of music, I don't care, what genre it is, where it came from. I'm going to say, hey, I really like that. That's a good piece of music, I mean, I'm getting something from this. I'm feeling something from it. And Mr. Rogers did that. I mean, he made episodes where he's sitting there breakdancing. So, and I never forgot that, He loved brass instruments, He loved singing, violin, cellos. I mean, everything under the sun, he enjoyed listening to. And that stuck with me. And that's why I am the way I am today. It's not just all rock. It's not just all folk. It's not just all pop or all country. If something's good, I enjoy listening to it. So that's my shout out to Mr. Fred Rogers. I could talk a long time about that great man. And some people might say, Mr. Rogers, what are you talking about? Don't be dissing Mr. Rogers, man. There's a lot of people that take Mr. Rogers very seriously. I'm one of them. Time to feed the fish. Let's see. So we're going back, hopefully, if I can remember where the hell I was. So it's me, Rick, and Pat, and so we've put some money into instruments. We actually started putting a list of songs together, and I have actually one of the cases is sitting right over there. This is just one case of the cassette tapes. I wonder if the last one I made is in here. There's a combination, chivalry beginning to end. I know it's somewhere. But anyway, as you can see, I mean, this is just one of the cases filled with stuff. And Pat used to call me the band historian because I was always trying to record everything. But, sometimes you run out of cassette tapes, believe it or not. Because most of the time we would play for, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours. It just depended on how many folks can hang out for how long. But we started looking for, a friend of a friend who had some kind of recording ability. And so we ended up recording a few songs in some guy's basement on his reel-to-reel. I think I already showed... Yeah, I already showed the picture of the reel-to-reel my dad had. So we, dragging this stuff all different types of places and playing, recording, trying to put together a list. We entered a radio contest. And remember, this is back in the day. It's nothing like it is now. I mean, like nothing like it is now. As far as trying to break into music, it's just different. You can be discovered just by singing one song on YouTube. And a month later, you're like, the lights are flashing and everything else. And that's good. Just keep your head on your shoulders, man. And stuff will fuck you up if you ain't ready for it. So we did that for a while. Entered the radio contest, and so us and all of our buddies are sitting around listening to the radio, and we're waiting for our song to come on. And we were hearing songs that were like, really? Really? If this is one of the entries, then maybe we actually have a shot. I think we submitted 3 songs. Pat still has the cassette tape that we submitted. Yeah, I know. I'm going all hustle and flow using cassette tapes to try to get. Most of you probably never seen Hustle and Flow, but that's a really good movie, actually. Dealing with music, it's like hip hop and stuff and rap, and a guy trying to make it there. And no, I'm not talking about 8 Mile. Hustle and Flow is the name of the movie. Got to be willing to hear some cussing and all that. I mean, it's inner city, stuff. But which I'm no stranger to, so. So then, and that just kept going, and we kept recording stuff, and didn't place in the contest. And it wasn't that long after that that Pat had to leave the band. And so when that happened, we kind of lost his basement as like our headquarters. And there was nowhere else that we had to go. And I used to work at a strip mall. It was a battery warehouse. And so what we did was we took the instruments and stuff like that, and moved it all into the back of this little store. I mean, it wasn't a big store. It was a little store. Most of the time I manned it myself. It was only the manager and me that even worked there. Talk about low overhead. So after hours, we would play. And even myself, when there was no customers there, I would have my guitar leaning, out of sight on my desk. And sorry, it's yeah, I lost it there. I used to, so we practiced back there. And so we're practicing in the back of this dirty ass, there's batteries everywhere. Batteries are being charged. There's a smell of battery acid in the air. And the chicks were still coming. That's dedication, y'all. That is dedication. And whether anything happens or not, it's cool as a young fella. I mean, I was in my early 20s, somewhere around my early 20s at that point in time. And after you get done playing, the chick walks up to you and just kind of like half hugs you, and then puts something in your hand, and then kind of like looks at you while she's walking away. It was like almost the same exact thing every time. It's like, do you guys go to school for this fucking shit or what? And so I'd open, the little piece of paper, and of course it had her name and phone number on it. And that I'm like, we're in the back of this dirty ass battery warehouse. Not that I was complaining. There was some really interesting times there. So it was me and Rick alone by ourselves at the time. So, we would get together and jam and keep trying to create some things. And Jay, we talked him into, because he played the guitar, and he was into like the style of music that we were aiming at mostly at that point in time, which was more punk, actually, and just faster stuff. Like, no matter what it was, I wrote this one song, and it was supposed to be like this slower acoustic piece, and when we played it, it's like dun, 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 dun. It's actually on my Facebook and YouTube. Make Him Believe in You, I believe, is the title. Yeah, that's the title of that one. But we were doing stuff like covering Basket Case, which I think it was on the Dookie album, wasn't it? Basket Case. Pretty sure it was. I could be wrong about that, but it's, old Green Day. And so we were doing stuff like that. And that's where this other picture came from. I think, whoa, everything's falling everywhere. That's one picture of Jay probably playing ball and chain for the 2 millionth time that day. There's the setup pic, trying to look like I'm chilling out, taking a nap, in between sets. Total setup pic, I wasn't asleep. I just was trying to look cool. And this is still back when we were playing at the movie theater. The iconic pic of Rick, and that's when Wayne's World 2 had come out. So I skipped a couple there. Yeah, some of these I'm just gonna go right by. It's not music related at all. Yeah, and here's we had taken a couple pictures before this. This is when Jay joined the band, so this is like Chivalry 2.0 right here. I don't even know if that's coming in clear or not. But I still, to this day, remember saying, hey, we took some pictures. How about this time, everyone look in a different direction? Let's try to look cool like a real band pic. It's funny because on South Park, Cartman said the same thing when he was trying to put that Christian group together. He's like, dude, we all gotta look in random directions. No one look at the camera. But I get a kick out of that one. But here's the one I was actually talking about. Let's see if that actually comes in here. No? I was practicing for one of we called ourselves No Vacancy. I also got to tell the story about how that name came along. But I was practicing because I was playing bass almost exclusively, and if I had written a song on guitar, I just showed Jay how to play it, and he picked it up, like that, because a lot of the stuff back then was simple, not too many chords and all. It was punk, all you had to do is be, aggressive and loud, and, you didn't have to be precise, you could be a little sloppy, and everyone was still having a great time. But I fell asleep, and so my dad took this Polaroid of me Shake it, shake it like a Polaroid picture. Sorry, I had to do that. But yeah, so he thought this was hilarious. I think he was just trying to get rid of the party Polaroid film that was still on the camera. So anyway, and I've got like so many pictures, and maybe I'll do picture day at one point in time. We'll see what happens. And so things were going okay. We were putting stuff together. We had a guy that knew a guy come down and watch us who had some friends who ran some of the clubs at Ocean City in Maryland, and he wanted to listen to us to see if he wanted to talk to his buddies and see if we could get a little bit of time at the club. And so we're playing, and we stop after like 2 songs, and he's like, "Man, you guys sound better than I thought you would." Okay, thanks, I guess. And then he looks at me and he's like, "Why don't you try just singing this time instead of playing the bass and singing?" And I'm thinking in my head, you mother... Sure, of course, I'll try it. Anything to get the gig, right? But yeah, I wasn't too happy about that, actually. But nothing became of it. I mean, when you're a musician trying to make it into something, you got people saying all kinds of stuff to you, "Oh, I know this dude, and he's got friends here," and it's just 95% of the time it's all total bullshit. I mean, maybe the guy does have a recording studio in his basement, but he ain't gonna be getting kind of real time in front of like a producer or anything, or a headhunter or anything. Well, that's what we call it. I don't think they really called it that back then. That's more of a business term, I think. But so it went on like that for a while, and I know I had a blast, just like I did in Chivalry. And Rick just kept getting better and better even. There's this drum roll that he does on Basket Case, and it's just like hearing a freaking machine gun going off. And when I listened back to that recording, I actually listened to him do that drum roll. I kept rewinding it. You're not really supposed to do that with a cassette tape. But I did it. I must have re-listened to that thing like 25 times, because to me, it was just so awesome. Because out of nowhere in that song, the songs just like kick in. And it's just badass. But here's how it ended for No Vacancy. And what an ironic story it is. So anyway, we're practicing there, and it's hot as donkey balls back in that room. And remember, we're charging batteries, it's all kind of dirty and stuff. Still got chicks coming over. I mean, I dated, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 chicks just from being there. It's crazy. I guess chicks enjoy dirty places. Shh. Don't want to piss anybody off. So I opened the back door. I started opening the back door to let some air in. And people would hear us playing, and so they would come down. There was this community of housing like up on this hill, like right and back, well, not too far away. And of course, we played loud. Everything we did, even though we might not have realized how loud it was. I guess that's our fault for playing punk music loud. What a downer. But people started coming and listening. And at first, it wasn't that big of a deal. But because of the acoustics of everything, I had to actually go outside and put the mic stand outside. So I'm the only one that's outside the room. And Rick's in the corner and on the drums, and Jay, is like a little bit closer to the old mono recording station we had. Remember the story where the knob was broke, so I couldn't switch to stereo. That ghetto musicians, man, awesome. Without the bling, so more and more people kept coming. And so people started one night. It was ridiculous. People were bringing lawn chairs and beer down and sitting outside to listen to us play. And this wasn't something that we, we were just practicing to try to put together a really good demo tape to put out there. And we weren't really that far away from getting that done. We were getting tight as a 3-person unit. Just like Pat, me, and Rick were in Chivalry. And people just kept coming down. They were coming down the back of the strip mall. They were walking out of the stores, coming around the building, coming down. And, so it's just funny because I'm the only one they're really seeing, unless they look past me into the room to see Jay, because they couldn't see Rick. But, of course, they're hearing everything. And everyone was having a good time. Unbeknownst to us, the owner of that strip mall ended up coming after hours to drop something off, and got totally pissed that there was a crowd of people behind this little strip mall and this punk band playing. And so she calls, the next morning. I think she actually called him that night, actually. But the next morning, he's like, "Look, you got to get this shit out of here, and you can't do this shit no more." And that, my friends, was the end of No Vacancy, because we had absolutely no place left to go to practice. If you ain't practicing, you're shit out of luck. There ain't all this online stuff where you can, I'm going to log online with my bass, and I'm going to log online with my, electric, and, Rick's got his drum. There was none of that back then. So if you couldn't get together and practice, it's over, it's over. And what a shitty way to go out. It's ridiculous, and we still barely had any money. That's why our equipment was still, after years, garbage. And still didn't even have a 4-track. So that's the end of the band era, and this brings us to my attempt at a solo career. And I'm actually wearing, you probably can't see it that well, but like I told you before, when I gave the shout out to my dad, he actually, he was all in, and took me, he's like, you got to have an image, and he was like my manager. And I remember saying, "Dad, I just want to play." And he's like, "Yeah, but you gotta look good." I was like, "Okay, thanks, Dad." But he took me and got me this leather jacket. And if you watch the movie, it's on Netflix. It's called I Used to Be Famous. These are like, and remember, this jacket is like old as shit. and it's like the same jackets that those dudes are wearing in that movie. And man, that gave me a kick. But so got the jacket, did my hair, got my hair done, all clean shaven, looking pretty good back in the day, actually. Might have explained a few phone numbers at least. It couldn't have all been the music. It couldn't have all been. At least that's what I tell myself. But so we were taking like promo pictures and all kinds of shit, and so then we go to look for a studio so I can record, because I had put together a list of songs. Some of them I still need to do some work with, but so we started looking for an actual studio. And so a funny story about that is one of the first ones we go to, we walk in there, and here's this old like ZZ Top looking dude, tie-dye shirt on with a big old marijuana leaf on there. He's like, "Hey man," and he's got this that's rock and roll, dude. He's got this reel to reel. I mean, this ancient reel to reel that, I don't know, probably recorded at Woodstock or something. The first Woodstock, not the disaster that came afterwards. Yeah, it's a good documentary too. If you watch when they tried to redo Woodstock, what was it, 1999 or something like that? Watch that documentary. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, so he's sitting there, and I'm, this is new to me. I mean, I've been using freaking cassette karaoke machines to record my stuff, for years. So, I mean, I was totally out of my league, even with the reel to reel. And I'm like, so, how does this work? What do you guys do? And what kind of equipment do you have? I mean, that's all I could think of asking. And he's like, well, this is it right here, man. This is the baby. This makes it happen. And he's pointing to this old reel to reel. And so we had this back and forth. And yeah, he was, let's say, a chill dude. It turns out he was an ex-roadie that turned small studio owner and music producer. Man. So we kept looking, because I mean, some of my songs would have fit in good there. My like total picking acoustic folk type melody focused songs would probably, he could have probably done something with that. I'm not so sure about a lot of the other stuff though. So we kept looking and finally found a place, and real nice place. And so we decided, okay, yeah, we're gonna do this. And bought my dad actually paid for some sections of time, because I remember when I was watching one of the Paul Murphy videos, because he also talks about dealing with studios and stuff like that. Just a ton of useful information, and some of it's dated, but there are some things that don't change. No matter what part of life you're talking about, they stay the same sometimes. And so bought me some sections of time. He was just pointing out that you buy it in blocks of time. So you buy a couple hours and it's this much money. You buy another couple hours, it's this much money. And so we did that a couple times. Recorded a couple songs. Most, because it was all new to me, what I tried to concentrate on was actually some of the easier songs to play, just because it was also new to me, and you're not really in control anymore. Like when I was doing everything myself, when I was doing solo projects, I did every single thing I wanted to do and all that. But when you're dealing with a tech or, a producer or whatever, and they got their own ideas, and they're automatically going to do what they think sounds best in a lot of cases. And so I was just like, well, what do you think? Does this sound good? Does that sound good? And he says to me, well, I learned a long time ago that you don't give your opinion to the artist. You just do what they ask you. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, you just decided all these, like how much reverb this and how much reverb that. And all these different settings, I don't even know what the hell they were, to be honest with you. And the mic, oh my goodness, that was, we were picking up dudes walking down the hall on that mic. You can actually hear it when we were getting ready to start the songs. And the one compliment I did get while I was there is because I had been playing for, years. And so I actually had like a natural tempo down. Like if I was playing a melody on a guitar or strumming a guitar or even singing. Not so much now. My skills have deteriorated. Just, I almost don't even want to try to play anymore. But he said, man, you're keeping really good time because, and I guess I'll bring this out. My dad got me this when he got me, this thing's antique now, when he got me my first acoustic guitar. And what this is, you open up, slide the secret little button there, and you can control how many beats this thing goes. You just pull it out a little bit. Oh, you gotta wind it up. Get the frame there. Some of you guys like, did you get that shit out of a museum or what? Because nowadays, this is on like a little, do I have my, where is that? Now they're like on these little black boxes that are a mix of tuning. You can tune your guitar, your bass, and plus it keeps, time. It's one of these bad boys. And then of course, if you want to change the tempo, you just slide that weight up. And so, especially when you're first learning, it helps keep that tempo going. Now, when you become advanced, and let's set some songs aside, and you'll hear it when you watch certain YouTube videos, they're like, well, it started at this, beat measure or whatever, and then it changed to this, and it's like, you hardly ever hear that in any other song, and it becomes like, one of the things they appreciate most about the song is the diversity of the measure of the beats. Yeah, I can't read music, but I understand some stuff. But anyway, come on now. Whoop, you don't want to stop. Get back in there. Find the hole, Bill. You used to be able to do that. Come on now. Okay. For time purposes, I will fix that later. But I just wanted to put that out there. That's what I actually used when I was first learning how to try to keep time, when I was learning how to play the guitar and the keyboard as well. So yeah, one of the funny things is after one of the sessions, I'm walking outside with my dad, because my dad, always came. He was, so hyped about it, and that kind of fed my energy about it. And I was like, boy, he really turned that reverb up, didn't he? I think he was trying to tell me something. And my dad was like, oh, it sounded good, don't worry about it. But when you go in there and your technician's like on the reverb, your confidence level goes because the main reason you use reverb is to try to add that extra I don't want to say echo necessarily, but it's like actually Paul Murphy explained it perfectly. It's kind of like you drop a ball in the Grand Canyon and you hear that sound that kind of spreads and comes up, and that's kind of what it's like. I'm just stealing all kind of Paul Murphy stuff. You get all the credit for it. But I think that's all I'm going to do today. Hopefully this video wasn't, well, I already know it was too long. I think my dad's the only one. That's my dad, I guess. That's my dad. He's the only one still watching. But it is probably pretty late, so and you can always watch it later on and skip the parts that you're more interested in. But I just wanted to give trying to do what I can to stay into the game, since I can't be a hardcore rocker anymore or nothing, or play my sappy love songs to chicks and have them fall in love with me, at least for a couple weeks. I'm just kidding. It's not always like that. It's not always like that. But music has always been such a huge part of my life. I actually just recently posted Adele had done a concert, and she had gone and she was asking some fans questions. And it just reminded me of when I was in Iraq and I finally got my own room. I think I typed this on the post, but I might as well tell one last story before I go this time. And so I got my own room finally, and so I wanted to set up a makeshift gym with at least an incline press, and stuff like that. And so I went out, and you walk right outside and there's a half crumbled wall, and so I went over there and picked out two of the most intact large bricks I could find, took them back and wiped them off, took them back in the room. And so I'm curling with these things, I'm military pressing them and using them to do fly pressing and all that stuff. So the point of the story is I would listen to certain songs while I would work out. Songs, when you work out, you want something that's going to pump you up. I mean, come on. How do you talk to an angel? Oh my, that makes me want to go take a piss, not lift weights. No offense to the song or anything. It's just not the right song for the environment. In my humble opinion, having been a gym rat for at least a little while back in my heyday, back when I was heavy into martial arts, which I am going to do another video for. The martial arts, kind of like music, what the martial arts has done for me over the years, how many, thousands of ways that it's helped me Not going to get into a lot of, personal relationship or throwing a lot of names around or nothing like that, so no one's got to worry about any of that stuff. Just, the basic idea, kind of like what I did here. Hopefully as I do these things, because there's a lot of different topics that I would like to talk about, I'll keep getting better, and, the tech, aspect will get better, and we'll try to have some fun. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what, to me, music is all about. But when I was working out back then, I used to listen to Rolling in the Deep. There's a fire burning in my heart. I mean, how can you not move when you hear that? And she's got such a powerful, meaningful voice that it's like it drives you. And of course, I was going through like the absolute most ridiculous heartbreak. So I had an angry heart, listening to, music with a good tempo that's all also talking about, a heartbreak. And so it all just came together. And I actually used to listen, some people might laugh at this, but Lady Gaga, Poker Face, and what was it, Bad Relationship? No, Bad Romance. Because of the beat of the songs. I mean, that's what it's all about. And also the videos were cool. Of course, I didn't have the videos, but I remembered what they looked like. And so, I was watching the video while I was... Like I told you before, a long time ago, when every time I write a song, I'm creating the video for it in my mind. Thank you, VH1, back when you were cool. Thank you, MTV, back when you were cool. Really appreciate that. That made a lot of difference for a lot of folks. Anyway, I've talked enough for this video, I believe. I will be doing more musical videos, like I said, when I feel my health up to it. I will, even if it's just one song at a time, I'll try to pump them out, and we'll have some fun, hopefully. Thank you all for watching, and those who will watch in the future, I thank you as well. And don't forget to visit Mr. Paul Murphy on YouTube. You won't be disappointed, I promise you. Especially if you are a musician coming up and trying to learn. There's no better place to go, in my personal opinion. So have a good one, and try to help the folks around you when you can. Good night.